Hello listeners, if you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I think something really grim is going to happen. I can't explain it. I've lived in a small town called Ordwin for my whole life. It has one small school from 1st to 12th grade, 2 grocery stores, 1 gas station, and is 5 miles from a remote business district. This business district is at the center of a group of little towns, and is often where most of the adults in each town go to work. My parents both work at the trading company in a 6-story building in the middle of that district. My best friend Polly's parents work at the same company. Polly has always been quite sensitive, crying often at movies or at tests she's failed, or when you're a little too harsh towards her when she makes mistakes. But this adds a balance to her character. Her overall nature is that of a puppy dog adopted by a family with a father who didn't really want a puppy originally, but ended up spending most of the time with it. She's wholesome, and being around her is an unworldly experience. "Where would you like to go most in the world right now?" I asked her, lying out in the sun, and constantly anticipated an eccentric answer. We're on the top of her dad's beige Caravan, parked outside of her quaint brick house right after a 13-hour road trip to Illinois for a country concert. It's never really that hot around this time of year, so the metal roof doesn't scald our skin, but the sun still beats down on us. "Well, I'd want to be here with you," she responded softly, some wisps of her coiled autumn red hair touching my elbow. "Okay. Well, pretend I came with you then. Where physically would you want to be the most right now?" I repeated lightheartedly. She thinks just a little bit. I'd have to say lying down in the grass on those pictures on the milk cartons, endless green pastures and the odd cow, and the sun peering over the horizon, painting an ocean in the distance. She has such a way with words. She's very poetic, and she loves writing. I could read her stuff for hours. "Lake Larza isn't far from here. That ocean's enough for me," I cracked. She laughs a bit and falls back into her character daydream. Lake Larza is a large body of water just outside the town of Larza, 2 towns across from Ordwin and the closest to the business district. Polly started to drive by herself a month or so ago. She has the kind of license where you're allowed to drive by yourself, but it's not a real full license yet. I wouldn't know, as I've never tried to get my license. I'm 18, but driving scares me. It's too much pressure. Anyways, she's been driving the 2 of us to school every day, and it's great to have an excuse to spend as much time with her as we can possibly get. Dean and Sasha live on the other side of town from us, far from the other side of the school, so they drive to school together. We all meet up as a group at the entrance at exactly 8:15 in the morning. It's traditional. I got this specific feeling of dread. Not the normal dread, but the unprovoked and subtle kind of dread. When Dean told us that his friend group has been amazing for him. Being around you guys has helped me in ways I can't explain. I was serious in the gutter last year, and all of you have given me what I needed to improve. Especially you, Sasha. You have always been with me and checked in with me when I needed it most," he says. Sasha curls up in a flare of smiles and sweetness towards Dean. This is her way of showing affection. She would never say it, but she's always doing something with her face and her body to show how she really feels. Her brown bob cut drifts to the side as she tilts her head to her parallel with the ground. I feel sick. Not of jealousy, just because this is actually really sweet. But I just feel like this is all wrong. As if something is not meant to be happening, or as if this is the beginning of something really bad. I can't really explain it. Sasha sees me and her face drops. "Are you alright, Annie?" she asks me. My actual name is Andrew, but everybody calls me Annie as a funny little nickname. It's probably a personal thing because I can be quite distant and unrevealing while the rest of the group spits out everything that their brain conjures. and a nickname probably makes me seem a little more part of the group. Yeah, I'm fine. I responded monotonously to disconnect from the feeling of dread, but it's still there. By the end of the day, it's disappeared. In the morning, Polly drives me to school as usual. I'm not very talkative, but Polly can always find a way to bridge that gap, whether it's blasting some of her favorite songs and singing them aloud while looking at me every now and then to see if I'm secretly enjoying it, or rambling on about the latest TV show she watched or the latest poem she's written. She will always fill the silence between us. Our grade is small, being a small town and everything, so every class is shared with everybody in the grade. This is convenient for my friend group as we get to spend every class with each other. It's a fluid group, people come and go often, but the four of us are the original members of the group, and we have never planned to leave. Mathematics starts and Sasha flips open her laptop and starts playing some sort of golf game in the little box of the corner of her screen. Polly is paying attention to the teacher, who is writing something about algebra on the chalkboard, and Dean and I start talking. My parents' anniversary is coming up next Monday. They're spending it out of town, somewhere near Charleston, I think. Do you want to join the three of us after school? We'll go on to that road trip or something. Maybe to the business district, or near there, maybe? He says jovially. At first I'm offended that I was the last to know about this, but I got the feeling of dread again. This time it focused more on this something really bad is going to happen part, and I felt like immediate doom was near. I also feel like something is watching me, monitoring me, observing what I say and waiting eagerly for my answer. Sorry, I can't go. I've got a couple things I gotta get done. I respond blankly, unable to swallow or take a full breath. It feels like the right thing to say. He deflates a bit, either to show me that he's genuinely upset I can't go, or to make me feel like he wanted me to go when he really didn't. You have a thing? What thing? Sasha asked me after class, when I'm fiddling with the lock keeping me from opening my locker. Well, my parents have a thing they want me to go to, I respond nonchalantly. That feeling of doom is synced with the beating of my heart. It pulses and gets stronger and fainter, and then stronger again. Oh yeah? I just think you don't want to go. It's personal, okay? Just leave me alone. This doom is overpowering, but it's adjusting my reactions and my character. It's like a faint echo in an empty room. It's small, but you can hear it clearly. The next day, Polly picks me up from my house, and I feel disoriented. I feel hot and sweaty, but also like there's a thin sheet of ice underneath my skin. My face looks clammy too, which is what she points out. Are you okay? You look a little ill. She always finds the words that mean the same thing, but people don't use it often. Like how she says I'm well instead of I'm good. I'm fine. Do you want to spend the time in the caravan after school? The feeling of doom again. No thanks. Why not? I just feel a little off today. I think I'm gonna rest after school. Polly's house is on the way to school from my house. She is happy to spend a few extra minutes on the way to school picking me up. When we drive past her house, her dad's caravan is parked outside. The sight almost makes me retch. I feel nausea and almost horrified at the sight. I hold up a hand to cover the caravan as we pass it. Polly notices and raises an eyebrow at me. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine, I just didn't sleep well last night. At school, Dean, Polly, and Sasha all discuss the details of their hangout, how they'll travel and where they'll go and what not to. But the feeling of dread is distracting me. I wonder to myself, why is it irritating me so much? Is it a premonition, or am I having some sort of mental episode? Have I experienced something so traumatizing that my brain has blocked it out? Does it involve caravans? The weekend is when the dream started. I had an early night on Saturday, wishing my parents good night after our 6 p.m. dinner, to which they responded with heavy scrutiny, and I spent the next 2 hours thinking and reflecting on the past few days. I started to drift off. The dream started with Polly's face looking into mine. Behind her was a scenic view of the milk carton world she was talking about. She was happy, in her paradise. Her hair draped past her shoulders, and her brown eyes were lit by the sun behind me. And then she started screaming bloody murder, looking into my eyes and screaming in such violent horror, not moving. I called her that morning and invited her over to my house, where she fed me, in my almost catatonic state, and some green tea from a china cup. I never told her what the nightmare was about, only that it was horrible. She told me that my face was all sunken and drained of any life, which I took offense to. But she was right. I looked in the mirror and gawked at the zombie that stared back. My parents took me to the local practitioner the same day, worried that I might have caught some kind of disease. My mother is quite the conspirator, stating God knows what is in those fleas nowadays. Every time she looked at me after a brief moment of pacing back and forth in the waiting room, I felt as though she was blaming me for my illness. The practitioner told my parents that I am a great candidate for an anxiety disorder, but they didn't believe her, and neither did I. That night, the nightmares were worse. It was just a large body of water, beyond the eye could see. All around me, just water, swaying and glistening under the sun peeking over a little cloud. It doesn't sound bad, and normally I wouldn't be scared of it, but I was petrified. Something about the salty air and that eerie, fabricated cold breeze was grim. I could feel it. I wasn't alone. I woke up screaming and thrashing around, holding my head and rocking back and forth. My parents ran upstairs and consoled me, rubbing my back and squeezing my shoulders. They assumed I was sick and had a fever dream, but they ignored the fact that I could have been contagious and invited my friends over. I'm in bed, silently slurping the pumpkin soup Polly brought me, looking straight ahead as everyone's sitting around me. Sasha is looking down and fidgeting with her hair, but Dean and Polly are both staring at me, waiting for me to do something unprecedented so that they can have an excuse to give me help. But I lay there, still horrified, and bring the bowl up to my mouth with my shaky hands every few seconds. I've never smoked, but I could really use a cigarette right now. My parents pity me. I don't like being vulnerable in front of them, because usually when I am, they shower me with puppy eyes, and it makes me feel weak and unable to get better on my own. But they're staying far away from me this time. It almost feels good how they are trusting me to get better on my own, or at least a little bit. But it doesn't take away from the fact that everything is just so bleak. I wake up from my little nap, not knowing I had fallen asleep, and it was midnight. My friends had left, and all there was left for me to do was go back to sleep. I take today off school, as I just need a breather right now. Everything has been too much, and I have no idea what's wrong with me. I get a text every 10 minutes from one of 3, asking me if I'm okay, and if there's anything they can do for me. I ignore the messages and spend the day reading or napping. Today, I don't have the signature feeling of doom or dread. It's tranquil. There's nothing right now that could stress me out. Not even the nightmares or the caravan or nothing. It's my day off, and I haven't felt this relieved in a week. When nightfall comes, my room goes dark. My heart sinks as I see someone in the corner of my bedroom. And they're short, and they blend into the clothing rack, except for their bright blue eyes boring into me. That feeling of dread all came back to me at once, hitting me like the dirt that had hit my coffin once I'm buried. Sudden doom. Something bad is going to happen. But the person doesn't move. They're just staring at me, as if they're waiting for me to realize something. Watching me. Waiting for my answer. It's Monday today, Dean's parents' anniversary. My heart is racing. After school, they're going to go on that road trip. Polly's dad's Caravan. I remember how I couldn't look at it that one day she took me to school. That dream about Polly screaming. She was in that milk carton world, and I remember how she spoke about it, and how she commented on the sun painting on the ocean. I mentioned Lake Larza as a joke. That dream about the body of water. Dean said they would go to the business district, or near there. Larza was the closest town to the business district. They must have gone to Lake Larza. I wrap my arms around my pillows and look out the window, while that person with the bright blue eyes continued to stare at me. I feel nothing but dread, and I feel all of the happiness I've ever felt being soaked out of me, like a sponge in a bucket, as I hear a faint bubbling sound in the distance. The bubbling sound that Lake Larza is inevitably making right now, as my friends drown.